Recording in progress.
श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः श्रीकान्तो मातुलो यस्य जननी सर्वमङ्गला जनकः शङ्करो देवः तं वन्दे कुञ्जराननम् योऽन्तप्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम् मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् श्रीहरये नमः. Namaste to all of you. We are in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This is a small chapter compared to other chapters. There are only 29 shlokas and we did up to 22 shlokas so far. So and the way Bhagavan deals with the subject of sannyasa is very interesting. In Bhagavad Padacharya's, meaning Shankara Bhagavad Padacharya's outlook, karma, when it is done nishkama, is not even considered as karma in Bhagavad Padacharya's view, which leads to it is not giving up of action or giving up. Of course, there is a ashrama where you give up religious duties that are prescribed from the morning till the evening and engage yourself in spiritual pursuits, which is sannyasa ashrama. But the subject that Bhagavan is dealing with in chapter 5 is not ashrama sannyasa, rather the paripaka or the state of sannyasa. So in fact, in the opening of Bhagavad Gita itself, Shankara talks about two paths or two lifestyles, and he says Bhagavan himself put these lifestyles in motion in the society with examples of Janaka and others, as far as Ikshvaku and so on, so many Raja Rishis and Brahma Rishis who have lived a life in the society, participating in the society, but still pursue the path of spirituality and attain Bhagavan. And there is another set of people, Sanaka Sanandanas, who renounce this society and go away and pursue a spiritual path and then attain jnana and attain Bhagavan. So both lifestyles are possible, but this lifestyle difference does not mean that there is a difference in the qualification that is needed from a spiritual perspective, because at one point of time Bhagavan is going to equate these two people and say that Yome Bhaktaha Same Priyaha. Whoever is my Bhakta is the most dearest to me, and he is not going to describe a Bhakta as somebody who wakes up, sings songs or does japa or does meditation or does puja or anything like that. Rather, he is going to describe a Bhakta as a jnani. Anybody who is into the jnana marga, who has controlled the senses, who have studied the scriptures and made the mind free of doubts and so on, that person is going to be equated to the bhakta. So the point here in this adhyaya is that it is more about the qualification that is needed to be able to get to the spiritual pursuit. Jnana marga darshanam is the content matter of the chapter. The chapter is called Sannyasa Yoga. And anytime the ultimate state of Brahma Nirvana or moksha is talked about, Bhagavan does not just describe that and leave it. Rather, he goes step by step and then talks about all the preparatory steps that are needed by the sadhaka to be able to get there. So it is a big journey that Bhagavan describes rather than just the destination of sannyasa. Here, so he takes all adhikaris into consideration and then gives his upadesha to Arjuna. And he said, Yehi samsparishajaha bhogaha dukkhayonaya eva te adyantavantaha kaunteya na teshu ramate buddhaha. So he said, adyantavantaha sarve indriya vyaparaha adyantavantaha eva. Any sensory pursuit that we have has a beginning and an end. Adi and an anta. Adyantavantaha eva. Just because there is an amount of force that the mind gets before engaging and after the engagement stops, there is a vega in the antahkarana for when the indriyas engage in the outer world with when it begins and when it ends. Just the middle portion becomes sukha or dukkha. Leave that, but the majority of the time is about the force that develops before it and after it, which is a problem, which is what Bhagavan is going to talk about. He said adyantavantaha he kaunteya. So he said na teshu ramate buddhaha. The voice does not engage in that. Even though they are temporary, because they create a force in our mind that makes us not feel our true nature, this needs to be avoided. How is that force created? For that, Bhagavan talks about how that force is being created. So, Srinivas, do you want to read with me, please?
Sure.
Shaknoti haiva yas sodum.
Shaknoti haiva yas sodum.
Praksharira vimokshanat.
Praksharira vimochana.
Kamakrododbhavam vegam.
Kamakrododbhavam vegam.
Sa yuktaha sa sukhi naraha.
Sa yuktaha sa sukhi naraha.
Sayuktas sasukhi naraha when you join it. Kamak Shaknoti haiva yas sodum praksharira vimokshanat kamakrododbhavam vegam sayuktas sasukhi naraha. Shaknoti iha eva. Shaknoti haiva. Shaknoti iha eva. There are three words there. Shaknoti iha eva yaha sodum prak. Before prak sharira vimokshanad kama krodha udbhavam vegam sa yuktaha sa sukhi naraha. So Bhagavan defines, hey, if you are a human being, these are the characteristics you need to have. Naraha, sahayeva naraha. He is the human being. Who is that person? Bhagavan defines Shaknoti. He is able to do it. He tries to do it. Shak, to become strong, powerful. Shakti comes from the same root. Shak. So Shaknoti, he tries. He is constantly putting effort. In what? Yaha, whoever that person is, Yaha, Iha, here, in here, Sharira Vimokshanat Prak. When does he put the effort? He puts the effort until the body falls. Sharira Vimokshanat Prak. Before this body falls, meaning throughout his lifetime. Sharira is the body. Vimokshana is to fall off. Prak means before. So throughout his life he puts effort. What does he put? Where does his effort go into? Let us look at it. Kama krodha udbhavam vegam sodum. He is able to bear the velocity that pulls the desire and aversion, kama and krodha. The force of that, he is able to pull it, meaning he is able to wield it. Kama krodha udbhavam vegam saha sodum shaknoti. He is able to wield it, meaning he is able to keep it under control. Not like 5 or 10 minutes. Throughout his lifetime, he has put effort towards doing this. Shaknoti, he is able to do it. He is putting effort. Saha, that person, yuktaha, he is a balanced person, a yuktaha. He is a yogi. He is yuktaha. Saha, that person, sukhi. He is a happy man. Sukhi naraha saha eva. Whoever is able to bear and command the force of anger and desire, kama and krodha, before this body falls, or until throughout his life until the body falls, he is a happy person indeed. Yes, the shaknoti iha eva sodum prak sharira vimokshanat, yaha sodum prak sharira vimokshanat, kama krodha udbhavam vegam saeva yuktaha sa sukhi naraha. He is that. So if you want to live a happy life, make sure that you hold the reins of two important things, which are kama and krodha. So Shankaracharya has a lot to say about this. Obviously, because this is a very important aspect of spirituality. So Shankaracharya says, Shaknoti utsahe ihaiva jivanneva yaha sodum prasahitum prak purvam sharira vimokshanat amaranat ityarthaha. Shaknoti utsahe, he tries. When alive, iha eva, jivaneva. So many people say that all of this attainment is after death. You keep Vaikunta or Kailasa very safely somewhere else and say that I will take care of worldly pursuits now, and at the time of death I am going to get something where I am going to climb up and go somewhere. Actually, that I'm not criticizing that, but the thought process is, it is about living a life of peace here and now. So Shankaracharya says, Jivanneva, when alive in itself, yaha, that person, sodum prasahitum prak sharira vimokshanat amaranat ityarthaha. So until the body falls, you have to pay attention to kama and krodha. So it is a lifelong pursuit. That is what Shankaracharya wants to indicate. Marana seema karanam jivato avasyam bhavihi kama krododbhavo vegaha. That so by making death as the limit, Bhagavan teaches that the impulse of desire and anger is unavoidable for a person. So and it is innumerable. Ananta nimittavan hi saha iti yavat maranam tavat na visrambhaniya ityartaha. A beautiful Upadesha by Shankaracharya. He says, there are 100 ways by which something can trigger you. So we call it the buttons that push a person. How many buttons are there in every DNA strand that we have? There are innumerable buttons that we have. It is like the button of an elevator in a 100-floor tower. You can push any button like that. Different things trigger us. So to understand these triggers and to have a control over these triggers is a lifelong pursuit. So Shankaracharya exactly says that. Ananta nimittatva, Ananta nimittavan. So the nimittas are Ananta, meaning the triggers are Ananta. He saha iti yavat maranam tavat na visrambaniya ityartha. So until somebody is ready to give up his body, you have to work on kama and krodha. It is a lifelong pursuit. Kama. So now Shankaracharya wants to define what is kama and what is krodha. Very beautiful definition here in the Bhashya. Kamaha meaning desire. Indriya gochara prapte ishte vishaye श्रूयमाणे स्मर्यमाणे वा अनुभूते सुखहेतौ या गर्धिः तृष्णा स कामः. Very, very beautiful definition. Look at the way in which Mahatmas have analyzed it and given a beautiful way to look at Bhagavad Gita. Kama, desire. But what is desire? He really dwells into the signs of desire. Indriya gochara prapte. When a desired object hits the senses, indriya gochara prapte ishte. When the desired object hits the sensory perception, vishaye shruyamane. Vishaye ishte indriya gochare prapte shruyamane. It could be through any sense organ. Say we hear beautiful music that is pleasing to the ears. Shruyamane. Smaryamane. That does not need to be always through the sense organs. It could be the mind that produces these thoughts that gives that pleasure. Smaryamane. Smarana is by the mano indriya. Smaryamane va anubhute. That anubhuti sukha hetau ya gardhihi trishna. That desire to get that sukha, sa kamaha, that is desired, that is defined as kama. So kama is when desired objects like hearing, touch, thinking, remembering, when they produce pleasure, that produces a longing for it. That makes a vasana, a groove in our mind that longs for it. And that produces a longing, and that longing for pleasure is kama. So, of course, the opposite is the definition for krodha. He also gives the definition. Krodhascha atmanaha pratikuleshu dukkhetushu दृश्यमानेषु श्रूयमानेषु स्मर्यमानेषु वा यो द्वेषः सः क्रोधः. Same definition in the opposite sense. Krodha atmanaha pratikuleshu. Now the undesirable things. Somebody is talking about me and he is saying something that is very undesirable for me. So obviously my rage develops. So undesirable. Pratikuleshu dukkha hetushu. Something that gives you dukkha. Drishyamaneshu. Something, it could be something that you see. Something that is happening that gives you, makes your mind troublesome. Shruyamaneshu, something that other people talk. Smaryamaneshu, that something you remember. Va. Smaryamaneshu is very interesting in Shankara Bhashya because, so when I read the Bhashya, I was thinking, why would Smaryamaneshu, like Indriyas in getting the sense organs, hitting the sense objects, and then sensory perception, evoking kama and krodha is how it works. But why does he point to the mind? Smaryamaneshu va yo dveshaha sa krodha. One thing that came to my mind very when I read this Bhashyam in itself is that, see, say there is a conversation. obviously a heated conversation. Somebody says something mean about somebody else. Say A says something mean about B, and B hears that, very disturbed. It never ends like that. In our lifetime itself, we would have seen a lot as to that B person. What he'll do is he'll relive that moment again and again and again throughout his life and say that when you were in that situation, you said this to me. And then that person would have said it only once in his lifetime, but this person would relive that moment many a times in his life. In fact, whenever there is a conversation, conflicting conversation, that they will bring and say that 25 years ago when we were in that situation, you said that. That is smaryamaneshu va yo dveshaha saha krodhaha. So Kama and Krodha is beautifully defined by Shankaracharya. The opposite experience of undesired objects getting in contact with senses and mind that produces aversion is Krodha. So longing is Kama, aversion is Krodha. Krodha. Saha Krodha. Tau Kama Krodhau Udbhavo Yasya Vegasya San Kamakrododbhavaha Vegaha. So if it is momentary, then we don't have a problem, but it is never momentary. Actually, it has a lasting effect. How does the lasting effect develop? The lasting effect develops by a force. The force that manifests because of Kama and Krodha, the disturbance to the Antahkarana, is what is long lasting. So Vegasya saha kamakrododbhavo vegaha udbhavo yasya vegasya. Then what happens? Shankaracharya describes this. Look at his observational capacity. Romanchana prahrishta netra vadanadi lingaha antahkarana prakshobharupaha kamakrododbhavo vegaha. When that heated moment, it manifests physically. Indriyas are subtle organs and mind is even more subtle. But because that force develops in us, it manifests physically. That force, and he says, what are the physical characteristics? He says goosebumps. Romanchana, goosebumps, or joyful countenance. Prahrishta netra vadanadilingaha, for Kama. Antahkarana prakshobha rupaha kamodbhavo vegaha. These are like the physical characteristics. Oh, you're excited, you're having goosebumps, your eyes are broadened, all that. Gatra prakampa prasveda sandashtoshtaputa rakta netradilingaha krododbhavo vegaha. So the opposite, like trembling, perspiration, biting one's teeth, lips, something like that, fiery eyes, all this are signs of Krodha. Kama Krododbhava. That the point that Shankaracharya makes is that, hey, Kama and Krodha might be a mental vritti, but it does manifest physically. And medically also it is something that produces disease in us. And Ayurveda calls this ama, actually. So these are the physical. Saha yuktaha yogi sukhi cha iha loke naraha tam kamakrododbhavam vegam yaha utsahe prasahe sodum prasahitum. Saha yuktaha yogi. So whoever is able to control that pull of kamakrodha. See, here Kama and Krodha, one interesting observation in the Shankara Bhashya is that Kama and Krodhas are tools. If you use them as tools and leave it at that, then these are very useful tools. But many a times we cut ourselves using these tools like knives. That is the force that Kama, that is the reason why Bhagavan said Kama Krododbhavam Vegam Yaha Sodum. So Sa Yuktaha Yogi Sukhi Cha Ihaloke naraha. So your life in this world becomes very pleasurable if you are able to control that force of Kama and Krodha. So when Rama is being described by Valmiki, Narada to Valmiki. First, Narada is the one who introduces the character of Rama to Valmiki, because tapaswadhyaya niratam tapasvi vagvidamvaram naradam paripapracha Valmikir Munipungavam. That Valmiki, Munipungava Valmiki, asks Narada, परिवप्रच्छ वाल्मीकिर कोन्वस्मिन् साम्प्रतं लोके गुणवान् कश्च वीर्यवान् धर्मज्ञश्च कृतज्ञश्च सत्यसन्धो दृढव्रतः चारित्रेण चको युक्तः, and so on. So he asks who is the one who fits these characteristics, and then Narada describes beautifully all the characteristics of Rama, and then he narrates Ramayana, and then Valmiki writes the entire Ramayana. That is how Valmiki Ramayana is presented. And one of the characteristics that Narada describes is Kalagni Sadrisha Krodho Kshamaya Prithvi Samaha. He is able to handle anger like how the final fire that destroys the entire universe. He can have anger, that much anger, but still have it under his control. And he is he has the amount of patience that equivalent to this earth. Generally, because the earth, when you dig it, it is looked upon as a devata, and it is it takes it, and it has so much of patience. So these are two characteristics, but these are two tools that Rama wields. Kalagni sadrisha krodha kshamaya prithvi samaha. So as long as these are tools that you wield, there is no problem. But only when the knife in itself starts cutting ours, it is a problem. And how does it do it? When it produces the vega or force. And how is that force known? Because it physically manifests and disturbs the mind and makes a vasana in ourselves. So another is one other commentator on this says prak sharira vimokshanat, meaning kama krodha udbhavaha vegaha sharira vimokshanat. So that the force, before it goes out of the body and publicly manifests, you control it. Sharira vimokshanat prak vegam sodum utsahe. So you might get into a situation where kama and krodha are acting, but as long as you are able to control it before it manifests, you are okay. So that was an interesting observation by a Mahatma. Shaknoti haiva yassodum prak sharira vimokshanat kamakrododbhavam vegam sayuktas sukhi naraha. So this kama and krodha is dealt in both Mahabharata and Ramayana in many times. One very interesting observation that you all would have known is in Sundarakanda, where Hanuman is somebody who analyzes himself all the time. If you read Valmiki Sundarakanda, it is one of the most beautiful books of human analysis of human mind and emotions, because there is so much of emotive element in the Sundarakanda. Hanuman is someone who has all of this under control. Buddhir balam mesho dhairyam nirbhayatvam arogataha. All of this is in him, and Hanumat Smaranat, you get all these things. And that Hanuman, when his tail is lit by Ravana's attendants as a punishment to have crossed the sea and come to Lanka and destroyed Ashokavana and come to Ravana and advised him, Ravana was enraged. So he was going to kill him. Vibhishana said, don't kill him. We should not kill a messenger. He is here to give you a message. He has given the message. I think you should give a message back and send him. And then they all come to a consensus, but then he just doesn't just want to leave him like that, because he has killed his own son in the battle between Hanuman and all the Mantri Putras. So many people were killed, and so he want to punish him. So they light his tail. So all that is done. You know that. But then Hanuman is enraged because of this. So he goes and says that I will finish Lanka today, and he jumps from roof to roof and then spreads fire all over the city. And then he comes, dips his tail in the ocean, and then sits down and calms down. At that point of time, it hits him that what if Sita is endangered because of this fire? What if this fire that has got all over gets to Ashokavana and Sita is being endangered because of it? What if she is killed because of this fire? What have I done? So at that point of some time, he says, yes, samutpattim krodham kshamayaiva nirasyati yathoragas swacham jirnam savai purusha uchyate. So I should have thought about it. He says, whoever, yes, samutpattim krodham, whoever is able to control the anger that manifests in himself, kshamayaiva nirasyati, he is able to control it with forbearance, like, and give it up, like how a snake sheds its skin. Yatha uragaha swacham jirnam savai nirasyati tatha savai purusha uchyate. He alone is a good human being. Again, like how Hanuman says savai purushaha, here Bhagavan, Krishna says savai naraha, sukhi naraha. So to be a good human being, I think this is a characteristic that is given for us to follow. So and Kama, of course, he sees a lot of things, and then he questions himself. Oh, for a brahmachari, should I have seen all these things? Because he gets into the bedroom of Ravana before searching for Sita. But then when he comes out, he tells his mind itself, what is there in what you see? It is what the mind makes out of it. And I did not have any karma out of all these things. So I should be okay. Even though I saw so many things in there. So, kama krododbhavam vegam yaha sodum prak sharira vimokshanat saha yuktaha sa sukhi naraha. So, katam bhutascha brahmani stitaha brahma prapnoti iti iha bhagavan. So, Kama Krodha needs to be restrained for a higher purpose. So Bhagavan wants to say, what is the higher purpose for which you need to restrain Kama and Krodha? So here there are three more verses about Nirvana. Bhagavan uses the word Nirvana, which is a very popular Buddhist word for moksha, and also used in the Upanishad. Let us read it. Vaishali ji, are you able to read with me? Okay. I don't know who else has joined. Okay.
Sorry, Arvindji, my book is not here and I have kids in the house.
Just repeat with me. That is good. Okay. Yo antas sukhaha.
Yo antas sukhaha.
Antar aramaha.
Antar aramaha.
Tatha antar jyotihi.
Antar jyotihi.
Eva yaha.
Eva yaha.
Sa yogi.
Sa yogi.
Brahma nirvanam.
Brahma nirvanam.
Brahma bhuto.
Brahma bhuto.
adhigacchati.
Adhigacchati.
Yontas suko. There is a samasa pada for the entire line, so that's why I split it. Yontas sukontara ramastatantarjyotirevayaha sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutodhigacchati. Yontas sukontara ramaha tathantarjyotirevayaha. You can also read it like that. But the grammar rule is it is a samasapada. Yontas sukontara ramastathantarjyotirevayaha sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutodhigacchati. So here, yaha, whoever, that person, antaha sukham, one who has inner peace, antas sukham, antar aramaha, who has inner repose, repose or repose, however you say that, who is residing in himself, antaha eva aramaha, he is comfortable with himself, antar aramaha, tatha, and antaha jyotihi, the one with the inner light, antar jyotihi, yaha yogi, that yogi, he is a yogi, that yogi, brahma bhutaha, the one who has become Brahman, Brahma eva bhutaha, he has become Brahman, Brahma bhutaha, Brahma nirvanam gacchati, he attains Brahman in itself. He who has inner peace, inner ease, inner light, he is a yogi, he attains Brahman. Yontas sukhaha antar aramaha antar jyotihi eva yaha saha yogi saha brahma nirvanam yogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutaha adhigacchati. So what is the higher purpose for which you have to control kama krodha is because you attain the ultimate state of Brahma Nirvana when you have that ability. That is the connection between these two verses. So here let us look at the Bhashyam. Yaha antas sukhaha. Antaha atmani sukham yasya saha antas sukhaha. He has found fulfillment in himself. Antaha atmani eva. Again, we have seen this again, but the signs of Ananda or how Sukha manifests needs to be understood. So we have seen this. Actually, Ananda is the very nature of a person. It is just that when the mind is suspended for some time because of some external factors, we seem to think that the external factors that exist there is the one that produced that Ananda. Actually, the external factors just are able to help suspend the mind, and because the mind suspends for a few seconds or a few minutes, which is a great thing, that you see that pleasure. So Ananda does not come from the outside, it is inside, and this person understands that. So that is the reason why he is a antaha sukha. Ananda Mimamsa. Upanishad takes up this in a very great deal in Taittiriya. Tatha, like that, antareva atmani aramaha. Aramanam krida yasya saha. He rests in Atma, he revels in Atma. Atma krida, Atma ratihi. In fact, this Atma krida is the rasa krida of Bhagavan. Antararamaha. Very interestingly, the Gopikas there say Akhila Dehinam Antaratma Dhrik. So anyway, that will be a distraction if we go there. But Aramanam Krida Yasya Saha Antar Aramaha Tatha Eva Antaha Eva Atmanyeva Jyotihi Prakasho Yasya Saha Antar Jyotireva. His light is the light of Atma. That person, meaning he has the knowledge. That's all it means. Here light is a synonym for knowledge. तथा एव अन्तः एव आत्मन्येव ज्योतिः प्रकाशो यस्य सः अन्तर्ज्योतिरेव यः ईदृशः सः योगी. A person like this is a yogi. Brahma nirvanam, brahmani nirvritim, moksham, iha, jivanneva, when he is alive in itself, brahma bhutaha san adhigacchati prapnoti. He attains brahma nirvana when he is alive. He is a jivan mukta. He is somebody who is able to live the life to its fullest. And he is a mukta. He is a liberated person when he is alive in itself. So, antasukha, antararamaha, antarjyotihi, all that anta is the actual spiritual experience. That anta is the antarikshangacha. Antarikshangacha is a Vedic usage. It says, get to that spiritual state. This anta is jnana. Jnana of the Atma jnana is the anta. So the yogi knows that Ananda does not come from outside. Ananda is the nature of Atma. So that is the anta. Antasukha, antararamaha, antakrida, antarjyotihi, all that. That jyoti is the jnana. So his view, that jyoti, that drishti, gives him the view that is free of likes and dislikes. Kama krodha viyuktanam. So that kama krodha does not exist. See, what kama and krodha does that is that it makes one view something very subjective. So there is a color. When we wear the kama krodha glasses and then look at something that is very ordinary might be something that is pleasurable or very painful from an experience perspective, because we taint it with the kama and krodha. When that is not there and antarjyoti, that vision of the world comes through, which is very objective, then actually the world is full of joy. There isn't any pain or pleasure in the world. Actually, pain or pleasure is caused by kama and krodha that we seem to inherit through our vasanas. So this antarjyoti gives them the world view which is very, very objective. That is the view of a jnani. So many people would go to great jnanis and talk about their family problems and life decisions. Nowadays, everybody goes to astrologists for it in India. But earlier, they used to go to Jnana. Even I have seen in Shankaramat in Kanchi, because I studied in that institution, I've been very close to the acharyas during my school days. And I used to serve there as well. So one of the things is they will come and sit there, talk to the acharya and talk about all their problems. But the thing is, very interestingly, the acharya would never get annoyed or anything like that. That I have seen even with Sringeri Acharya. These are the two Mahatmas, and I have seen with my own Guru Sri Sri Anna, that they never get perturbed with all these things. Rather, they patiently listen, but then they give a very good solution. And Bhagavan says that solution towards even worldly problem comes forth because you look at things very objectively. The person who is going through it has a lot of kama krodha in him. So he is not able to objectively view it and come to a solution. But a jnani does not have those tainted glasses. Rather, he just looks at it as it is. And because he looks at it as it is, he is able to give very good suggestions even for worldly pursuits that we have and problems that we have. So the antarjyoti is a very beautiful term that gives the world view of a jnani, which is very, very objective. So, and another thing in this verse that Bhagavan says that moksha is possible here and now. So, Jivan Mukti, if somebody asks you a question, where does Bhagavan talk about Jivan Mukti in Bhagavad Gita? You can quote this verse. There are many other verses, but this is a beautiful verse. Sa yogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto adhigacchati iha eva. here in itself he attains Brahman. So Brahmaiva sanna Brahmapyeti, Brahmavida apnoti param. All this is Upanishadic way of explaining moksha. So once you discover that from a jnani's perspective, that he has discovered that he is not this body, not this mind, and he recognizes he is the unembodied consciousness. So we know that we are embodied consciousness, but a jnani knows that he is embodied consciousness. That is nirvana. In fact, Amarakosha, nirvana is a paryaya pada for moksha. So it is synonymous with moksha. So Bhagavan says, hey, yaha antasukho antararamaha tata antarjyotireva yaha sa yogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto adhigacchati. So the next is a verse where Bhagavan gives much more idea into the characteristics of that jnani who is free of likes and dislikes. So in fact, from the beginning of the second chapter, where sthita prajnasya cha ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadhihi kim prabhasheta kim asita kim vrajeta, how does that jnani conduct himself, is a very inquisitive question that Arjuna asks Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is because of that question in itself, the lakshana of a jnani is prescribed throughout Bhagavad Gita, and we have seen time and again that a lakshana of a jnani is the sadhana of an ajnani. So that which is the natural characteristic of a jnani is something that as an ajnani I need to slowly develop in myself. So that Shankaracharya and Bhagavan him both have said throughout this. So another jnani lakshana. So anyone else who wants to read with me, you can unmute.
I can read
Yeah.
Arvinji.
Swati,
I can
thank
also
you.
read it. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
We'll read one by one. Thank you. Oh, I didn't know you had joined today. Okay.
Yeah.
Labhante brahma nirvanam
Labhante brahma nirvanam
rishayaha kshina kalmashaha.
Rishayanakshi. No, sorry. Could you repeat?
Rishayaha kshina kalmashaha
Rishaya kshina kalmashaha
chinnadvaidayatatmanaha
chinnadvaidatyatatmanaha
sarvabhuta hite rataha.
sarvabhuta hite rataha.
Nice. Labhante brahma nirvanam rishayakshina kalmashaha. Because brahma nirvanam rishaya is a samasapada, generally it is read together unless you want to split it for chanting. Labhante brahma nirvanam rishayakshina kalmashaha chinnadvaidayatatmanas sarvabhutahite rataha. Yatatmanaha you can split there because that is not a samasapada. So labhante brahma nirvanam rishayaha. Rishayaha brahma nirvanam labhante. They attain. Kshina kalmashaha. Chinnadvaidaha. Yata atmanaha. Sarva bhuta hite rataha rishayaha kshina kalmashaha brahma nirvanam labhante. So Bhagavan says kshina kalmashaha. This is a characteristic. Kalmasha means papa. Those who are free of papam are called kshina kalmashaha, meaning they are pure. Kshina kalmashaha. Chinnadvaidaha. They are free of doubt. Dvaidha means doubt, in whom the knot of doubt is cut. Chinna means to cut. Chinna dvaidhaha. Yata atmanaha. Who have mastered their self, meaning their sense organs. Self here means Atma here means Indriyas actually. So because one of the things in Bhagavad Gita is what does the same word mean in different verses will be very different. So Atma means Nirguna Nirakara Atma. Atma means Bhagavan Krishna. Atma means Parameshwara, Srishtistityantakari, Bhagavan Krishna. And Atma means Indriya. Atma means Jiva. So that is the reason why we need a commentary too. So Chinnadvaidaha yata Atmanaha, who have mastered their senses. Like that, if they are there, what do? Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha, who are always engaged in universal welfare. They are doing good to the entire world. They are Rishayaha, they are sages, rishis. And Brahma Nirvanam, the ultimate state of moksha, Brahma Nirvanam labhante, they attain. So those whose impurities have been destroyed, Kshina Kalmashaha, whose doubts resolved, Chinnadvaidaha, who have mastery over their self, meaning their Indriyas, who are happily engaged in universal welfare, those sages gain liberation. So, Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rishayaha Kshina Kalmashaha Chinnadvaidha Yatatmanaha Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. So, let us look at the Bhashyam. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Moksham. Brahma Nirvanam is moksha. Labhante, they attain. Rishayaha Samyak Darishinaha Sanyasinaha. So, Samyak Darishi, a person of true vision. Darishana, Samyak Darishi is a Rishi. Darshanat Rishihi is the definition of a Rishi. Rishir Darshanat. Sanyasinaha. For Shankaracharya, he has to be a sannyasi. Sanyasinaha. Kshina, because sannyasa yoga. Kshina kalmashaha. Kshina papaha. Nirdoshaha. So, they are free of sin. Nirdoshaha. They are free of all doshas. Chinna dvaidaha. Chinna samshayaha. Dvaidha means samshaya, doubt. So they are free of all doubts. Yata atmanaha. Yatatmanaha means sanyatendriyaha, who have sense organs under their control. Such a person, sarva bhuta hite rataha, sarvesham bhutanam hite anukulye rataha. They are always engaged in universal welfare. What if they are not doing anything? Ahimsaka ityartha. Beautiful observation by Shankaracharya there. Ahimsaka. So even when I am not engaged in anything, actually I have a problem. I am not engaged in universal welfare. I'll explain that to you in Shastra Paribhasha. But when a jnani, even he is not engaged in anything, even if you sit like Ramana Bhagavan, if you are a jnani, you are engaged in universal welfare. So, because other commentators have explained that very beautifully. Ahimsakaha ityartaha. So, when they are engaged, when they are in action, as universal welfare is their action. And when they are disengaged with the universe, still that ahimsa is also something that produces lokakshema. You know why? Because any activity that I do in one way or another could be something that harms somebody. Because mitra, shatru and udasina are engaged with me as a samsari. So when I do something, a mitra is going to appreciate me. A friend is going to appreciate me. A foe, a shatru is going to feel bad about it. And somebody neutral is not going to care about it. For a jnani, there is no mitra, shatru and udasina. So even when he is not doing anything, he is the only one who can really follow ahimsa. So ahimsa is possible only for a jnani. So that is the reason why ahimsa is taken up by you in the yoga Darshana as the first characteristic. Ahimsa, Satyam, Asteyam. Ahimsa is the first characteristic there because ahimsa is a jnana lakshana. So, ahimsaka ityartaha. So, the beauty of this verse is that it really gives you a spiritual destination map as to what are all the characteristics that we need to develop. Like when you travel in the train in the local trains in Chicago, it'll give you station by station by station by station, and it'll show you where you have arrived and where is the next one. Like that, this is a beautiful map where Bhagavan says, hey, you need to first land in this, and then the final state destination is Brahma Nirvanam Adhigachati. So, Brahma Nirvanam Rishayaha Kshina Kalvashaha Adhigachati. So what are the stages? So first Bhagavan says, get rid of the weakness of Kama and Krodha. You become somebody who is free of Kama, Krodha, Udbhava, Vega. What does it do to you? It makes you Kshina Kalmashaha. Kshina Kalmasho Bhava. Hey, you become somebody who is free of the pull of desire and of aversion. So you become a Kshina Kalmashaha. Then what? Then live a life of values. So Sarva Bhuta Hite Rato Bhava. So universal welfare is automatically the greatest value that one can take up, because a dharmic life is a life of values. So dharma abhyudaya nishreya siddhihi saha dharmaha. So universal welfare is the definition of dharma. Yaha abhyudaya nishreya siddhihi sa dharmaha. So this dharma, only to establish this dharma is the Bhagavad Gita given out by Bhagavan, is the view of Shankaracharya. Once we finish, let us go back and visit the introduction and conclusion of Bhagavad Gita by Shankara Bhagavad Bhattacharya, the Upodghata Bhashyam and the Upasamhara Bhashya. You have to read those two, and it gives you the beautiful summary of the entire Gita as to why is this text, what is this text, and how does this text conclude. So Bhagavan says, hey, lead a life of dharma. So Sarva Bhuta Hite Rato Bhava. Ayam Nijaf Paroveti Ganana Laguchetasam Udara Charitanam tu Vasudaiva Kutumbakam. So that Vasudaiva Kutumbaka Drishti may you develop. The Prime Minister, Indian Prime Minister, quotes Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam very often in his speeches. You would have heard that. But the Subhashita, you would have heard the Subhashita. It's a very popular Subhashita. Ayam nijaha paraha veti ganana laguchetasam udhara charitanam tu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva kutumbakam. So, yeah, what does that mean? It means that perform nishkama karma. A karma yogi bhava. Second thing, kshina kalmasho bhava. Karma yogi bhava. Then yatatmanaha, control your senses. Yatatmana here means somebody who is sanyatendriyo bhava. Hey, may you become somebody who is able to control your senses, because controlling your senses is the one that is going to make you develop an interest into spirituality. So with that comes only through the grace of Ishvara. So Ishvara Smarana Dwara Yatatmano Bhava. Then once you start getting into this journey, and then when you study Gita and other texts, and then slowly we live a life of dharma, live by the principles that are taught in it, then the contradictions that are there in the mind slowly resolve. You are at peace. Chinna dvaidho bhava. So you become somebody who does not have conflicts. That dvaida does not exist in you. You are free. It denotes doubts in one sense. It also denotes conflicts in another sense. So a person who is an integrated personality, he is somebody who is free of all the doubts. is somebody who is a Chinnadvaidha. You can become that person. You then what is that you become? By all this, you become a rishi. Darshanat rishihi. You become a person with a correct vision. A rishi is Samyak Darshi, as seen by Shankaracharya. So, Chinnadvaidho bhava and Mukto bhava. When you are able to get in control of your likes and dislikes, when you start practicing karma yoga, when you are able to take universal welfare into account in your actions, and when you are able to control your mind and develop an interest and correct, when the correct knowledge dawns in you, you become free. Muktaha bhava. Labhante brahma nirvanam rishayah kshena kalmashaha chinnadvaida yatatmanaha sarva bhuta hite rataha. So this nirvana description is given in 3 verses by Bhagavan. So if you see the earlier verse, Yontassuko antaramasthata antarjyotireva yaha sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutodi gacchati. And second, labhante brahma nirvanam rishayah kshena kalmashaha chinnadvaida yatatmanaha sarva bhuta hite rataha. And kamakrodha viyuktanam yatinam yatachetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam. Yes, the subject matter in which this moksha and characteristic of a jnani concludes. And then Bhagavan talks about dhyana. Suddenly he gets into the topic of dhyana. Sparshan kritva bahirbhaghyan chakshushchaivantare bhruvoho. How to do meditation. He explains this and then concludes this chapter. Bhoktaram Yajnatapatam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Hridayam Sarvabhutanam Nyatva Mam Shantim Richati. With that, this chapter concludes. So we have another 4 more verses to go through. We'll do it in the next session. Sarve bhavantu sukinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet.